So now we're live. So welcome. Good to see everyone. Um, Today we're going to talk about several suttas on Vedana, feeling. And this is really important in the Buddhist teaching, just to contemplate our feeling, which is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral sensation and all the six senses, and how important they are in just the development of the path and overcoming unwholesome qualities and developing wholesome qualities, and also final liberation. So I'm going to share. This is something that we learn in kindergarten to share. This is a document I put together, and can you see that? Yes. Okay. So this is like I entitled this session as a deeper dive into Vedana. The V is often pronounced as a wa, but it's kind of in between of how do you say Vedana?
Vedana.
Vedana.
So it's kind of
Va. It's a kind of a
Elmer Fudd VW. Vedana.
it's a cross between a V and a W, and it depends on like in Thai, the Thai people pronounce it more of a V. I mean a wa, a wa. Yeah.
Vedana.
So the main sutta I wanted to look at is called "Knot of the Flesh." Is one of the way it's translated. It's a Nirāmisa. Welcome, come in. So we've just started, and we're just opened the document. And I'm going to start with the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. And the first section in the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta is on the body. And then the second is contemplation of Vedana, or observation of Vedana, or Vedana. I can move this. There it goes. So I just took an extract. This is Majjhima Nikaya 10, and there's a short section. It's quite a long section on the body, but the section on Vedana is relatively short in comparison. So after you've done all that work, calming the mind and really observing the body, you start observing the mental phenomena, which is what arises from contact at any of the sense gates. But it doesn't go into that in this sutta. It just says what you're supposed to be doing as far as the contemplation. It says how, and this is Nyanamoli Thera's translation. And how does a bhikkhu or anyone abide contemplating feelings as feelings? Here, when feeling a pleasant feeling, one understands I feel a pleasant feeling. When feeling a painful feeling, they understand I feel a painful feeling. When feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, they understand I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. So this is at all six sense gates. So when you're sitting quietly, you may be feeling bodily sensation, but you also may be hearing sounds, pleasant or unpleasant sounds, and even odors, possibly odors. You're sitting with your eyes closed, So you won't necessarily have any visual contact, but mental contact is very common, that the mind brings up memories and thoughts about the past and future. So all those can be experienced as either pleasant, painful, or neither painful nor pleasant. So here it gets interesting, and this is translated, this is the samisa, when feeling a materialistic, pleasant feeling. This is an interesting way. This is the one of the flesh. The Bhante Sujato translates it as of the flesh, but that's the contact at the 5 of the 6 sense bases. So the eye is material, the ear is material, the nose is material. So this is like that we have actual physical contact with, something. And then that's discerned or experienced. Actually, it's experienced. I don't have a, yeah, I.B. Horner says that you experience the feeling, which is, I think, a really important to think about. If we're experiencing it as pleasant, or we're experiencing it as painful, or we're experiencing it as neither pleasant nor painful. And so, like the same, I have a cup here with water in it, same cup of tea may be, or water or whatever may be experienced differently by different people or the same person, like the taste, I might not be feeling well. It's something that will seem disagreeable, which when before it was very agreeable, was very pleasant to me. And then, so how I'm experiencing it and my attitude towards things, the attitude towards sounds, and my attitude if I don't want something, maybe I loved certain kind of music and now I'm trying to get really calm and peaceful and meditate, and then there's that music in the background. So suddenly there's some music or something, and so then that's disagreeable to me because I don't want it. So it's unpleasant. And it could have been the same music I enjoyed at another time. So how we experience things. So the materialistic, as I was saying, that's a samisa, is the 5 at the 5 physical senses. And then so I feel when feeling a materialistic, pleasant, unpleasant, or painful, or neither painful or pleasant, they understand. I feel a materialistic, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. And then he says, the Nyanamoli translates it as unmaterialistic. So that's the Niramisa. I feel when feeling an unmaterialistic, painful feeling, he understands I feel unmaterialistic, painful feeling a, oh, it's going back and forth. That's why I'm getting a little confused here. He goes back and forth between unmaterialistic and materialistic of each category of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. So when feeling a materialistic, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. He understands I feel a materialistic, neither painful nor pleasant feeling when feeling a unmaterialistic, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. He understands I feel an unmaterialistic, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. So we're going to get into what all that means. We're going to look at Bhante Sujato's translation of another sutta that's going to explain what all all this different kinds of detail and the feelings mean. So in this way, I'm changing to neutral gender here. In this way, he abides contemplating feelings as feelings in themselves, or they abide contemplating feelings as feelings externally. So instead of internally, externally, he's saying in themselves or himself or herself. Or they abide contemplating feelings as feelings in themselves and externally. So that's internally, externally. Or they abide contemplating feeling its arising factors, or abides contemplating feeling and its vanishing factors, or abides contemplating in feeling its arising and vanishing factors. So I think one translation is its nature to arise and its nature to pass and nature to arise and pass. Or else, mindfulness that there is feeling is simply established in them to the extent of bare knowledge and remembrance of it. And while they abide independent, not clinging to anything in the world. That's how one, a bhikkhu, or anyone else abides, contemplating feelings as feelings. So here's Bhante Sujato's, and I've just taken some extracts, so it's not the entirety of it. But here we have the Pali as well. And how does a mendicant meditate observing an aspect of feeling? It's when a mendicant who feels a pleasant feeling knows. I feel a pleasant feeling. And here is it, ida bhikkhave bhikkhu sukham va vedanam vedanam mano sukham vedanam veda yamiti pajanati. So I've bolded pajanati. So this is the knowing. So they're experiencing the feeling and they know it. And they know it, what it is, they know it as a pleasant feeling. When they feel a painful feeling, they know, I feel a painful feeling. Dukkam va vedanam, vedana mano, dukkam vedanam, vedanama miti pajanati. So what does that remind you of?
I'm sorry, I was caught in the way you were saying it. So
But that's it.
When they feel it, they know I feel a painful feeling. I'm not sure what you're
Okay,
You're searching
what came to me was that this is the way they talk about in the in and out breathing. When I know when I'm breathing in, I'm
yeah.
breathing in. So this knowing, knowing the experience and knowing it as just like they're discerning whether the breath is long or the breath is short, or the feeling that's associated with the breath. They're knowing it. They're knowing the experience.
Right. I think of it as the sandwich or the stack of there is something to be felt. I feel the feeling and I'm aware that I feel the feeling.
Yeah, so it's just really emphasizing this awareness of the experience. So we don't get like absorbed into the experience, like the kind of lost in the pleasure or the pleasantness of it, or the lost in the painfulness of it, but we're just observing it. I think this is, uh, he's saying observing an aspect of it. So observing that there is this pleasantness. So we don't get caught up. And then the story comes up, then the unpleasant experience at the mind door leaps up because we don't want something, or the pleasant feeling at the mind door because we're relishing it. So either one of those, we don't get caught. We're just observing it like maybe out in the field, and we're some kind of a, a, a botanist studying nature, and we're observing. It's that, very like kind of at a distance. When they feel a neutral feeling, they know I feel a neutral feeling. Dukkam asukkam wa Vedana. And when they feel a pleasant feeling of the flesh, now here's the materialistic feeling is how Bhante Jnanamoli, that's the samisa, uh, samisa, so of the flesh. When they feel a painful feeling, not of the flesh. So I'm just ellipsed it, so we have time for the other sutta. They know I feel a painful feeling, not of the flesh. So that's a Nirāmisa. So here I have pajanati, that word that I bolded earlier, knows clearly, understands, distinguishes. So yeah, it's a certain amount of discernment and knowing. It's not just kind of passive. It's actually, we're really at this point looking carefully and deeply. And then there's the Vedanānupassanā. This is what the actual contemplation is called. And that's contemplating, feeling, observing. This is the word that Bhante Sujato chose. Observes felt experiences. So the Vedana, it's a felt experience. It's not an emotional tone. It's a sensation. And then the emotion comes later, perhaps, if we let it, if we cultivate it, if we want to indulge in it. So then, samisa is fleshy, carnal. Yeah, some translations have I've seen carnal, physical, worldly, of the flesh. I think Bhante Analayo chooses worldly, as worldly and unworldly feeling. And but literally it has to do with the body or flesh or meat. And but then it's gotten a bad connotation as an adjective, as soiled or dirty. So it doesn't have to be, but we have a physical experience that's painful or pleasant or neutral, and it can stay at that. It doesn't have to get corrupted. And here we have Niramisa, not worldly, and spiritual, not of the flesh, free from defilements. And then and a lower adjective here. It says free from worldly ties, free from sensual engagement, not fleshy, literally. So let's see how we're doing with the time. Oh, here. Okay, so I wanted to bring in this to help with the understanding of Vedana, is that there's a extract here with a from the Majjhima Nikaya, greater question and answer series, and this is Ñāṇamoli.
Are we skipping 36, 31 then?
We're gonna get to it.
Okay.
This is very quick.
All
I'm
right,
trying to
excellent.
get
So
this quickly, just to get this
just
in
make it clear.
make it in context, because it says there's a question. This is Mahakotita, Venerable Mahakotita, asking Venerable Sariputta. He's talking about our feeling, perception, and consciousness. Are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them? And Sariputta answers, feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one feels, one perceives, and what one perceives, one cognizes. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined. It is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. So we are kind of trying to tease out feeling, but like it's tangled up, like I was saying, my experience of something at the ear door. At one point, I remember at 2 a.m. hearing a mockingbird singing, and I was so annoyed because it was keeping me awake. Earlier, like in the day, daytime, I was enjoying the mockingbird, but for some reason, the mockingbird was right by my windows singing its heart out. And I'm like, no, this is not good. So, yeah, so our experience, so it's the perception makes it, and it kind of all rises very quickly at once. But we talk about it in terms of Vedana in order to work with it in a particular way. I might focus more on perception another time, and it'd be a little bit different way of working with it. So now we will go to, hang on, Bing,
The Nirāmisasutta.
Nirāmisasutta, not of the flesh. So unworldly, spiritual. So would you like to read?
English?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Mendicants, there is rapture of the flesh, rapture not of the flesh, and rapture even more spiritual than that not of the flesh. There is pleasure of the flesh, pleasure not of the flesh, and pleasure even more spiritual than that not of the flesh. There is equanimity of the flesh, equanimity not of the flesh, and equanimity even more spiritual than that not of the flesh.
Can you stop there?
Okay.
So this we have here. So certainly this is quite pleasant if you have rapture. You're starting already, there's rapture, there's piti. So delight, heartfelt joy, pleasure, feeling of love. I think that's interesting. And then here's the word niramisa again. But there's a even more spiritual than not of the flesh. And it's like even more non-worldly than, is this how it's translated in this dictionary, even more spiritual, even more non-physical than. So
It's that last one though.
even more
free
free
from
from
defilements.
defilements. Yeah, that's so he's going to go into detail about these three permutations of started out with rapture, which is a form of Vedana, and this is in the
Isn't there four or okay, never mind.
what, pardon me?
There's also liberation.
Yeah, there is liberation. We get to that soon.
Okay.
Do you want to read that one?
Okay, let me scroll back up. Sorry. Here we are. There is liberation of the flesh, liberation not of the flesh, and liberation even more spiritual than not of the flesh.
Okay, so there's those.
I have a comment for that, but it can come later.
You have a comment? Okay. So yeah, so he's gonna, the Buddha is, if you read a sutta and it doesn't say this is Venerable Sariputta or someone else speaking, then just assume that this is the Buddha speaking. Otherwise they'll say it's a particular mendicant or sometimes lay people speaking. So it sounds pretty, this Nirāmisasutta, even greater than that, even more unworldly, no, not bound up with the physical plane. So here too, you notice there's no unpleasant in this, but what I was trying to say is this is in the Vedana Samyutta. So it was classified in with the feelings. So this when they collected the suttas under these categories. So this is definitely speaking of feeling here. Guess we should just keep going with it.
And
right.
what is rapture of the flesh? There are these 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. What 5? Sights, known by the eye, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Sounds, smells, tastes, touches, known by the body, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. These are the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation.
Okay, we can stop there. So you can see, I start getting the drift here. Like I was talking about how this is at these 5 physical senses. And that's the sensual stimulation is how he's translated it, which is kamaguna. This is the object of sensual stimulation. See, there's this deer. That might be it. So I'm sorry I didn't go deeply into translating the Pali, but maybe
Which word are you looking at?
this kam upassamita. This is agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Yeah, so this is all kind of what these feelings might be evoking in us. So that's why this kind of connotation with the of the flesh is like it's kind of binding us to the world and binding us to seeking more of it.
That's what the Upasamhita part is. It's the connection, the association, the basis. But I think binding could work as well.
Pardon me?
I think you could use, you're saying binding, that could work.
Uh-huh. Just looking at the word, it's kind of,
But more, the binding, I think, is this word further down, kamaguna.
uh-huh. Yes, that's
The guna is that rope, the bond.
it's the object of the pleasure. So we're
But gunha can literally also mean like a rope or a bond.
mhm. Sometimes the dictionary doesn't get all the permutations or the yeah, the
And the Buddha uses wordplay a lot, so it's both
right.
the bond and just simply the characteristic of kama.
Mm-hmm. So kama, with the long A's, that has to do with desire, with the not as opposed to kamma, which is our action, but kama is like kama raja would be having to do for desire for the senses. A kama is having to do with these senses. Okay. Does anyone have questions from the
fleshy part of the sutta?
yeah, this so far? Oh, there's more people that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
We could put, is it,
I don't
anyone
see
have
Yeah.
a question so far?
Oh,
Should we just
Yes,
keep going?
Christine's got a hand raised.
Okay, could you put a virtual hand up and then we can, or I'll,
Oh,
we
if she
can,
just starts to speak, she'll pop forward.
okay, you'll pop forward.
Hi, I is just clarification so that because I'm taking some notes. The 5 kinds of sensual, was it stimulation? Now I don't have it on the 5. There's from the 5 sense doors. I'm assuming that that's the pleasure of the flesh. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, but also it can be at the mind door too. Because we can be fantasizing or something like that. But here,
Good
just
point.
really literally of the flesh, because it is, because it is physical contact that we're having, you know, the organ is physical, like,
Mhm.
but it all merges at the mind.
Yeah, so if your mind is thinking of kissing, often you'll have that sensation at the lips.
Or I start salivating if I
Or
start
yeah.
thinking about some delicious food. Somebody brought
Yeah.
some delicious cupcakes or something like that, and they're in the fridge. I might start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a physical response. So that's a good point. Yeah. Okay, so we can keep going.
And what are we at rapture now? I
I think we're, yeah, what,
okay.
and what
And
is
what is rapture? Not of the flesh. It's when a mendicant quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. As the placing of the mind and keeping it connected are stilled, they enter and remain in the second absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion, with internal clarity and mind at one, without placing the mind and keeping it connected. This is called rapture, not of the flesh. Any comments there? Keep going.
Well, yeah, so this seems like kind of a high bar for a lot of us, is that, well, we're maybe not able to attain these absorptions as of yet. And so we don't necessarily,
way though.
we're on the, but
Even
I
on the
think,
way, there is that pleasantness that comes within meditation. Even if you're not in a full absorption, there can be touches and tastes, to use sensual terms.
and this is also with when we're examining what's arising in the mind, and then it drops away, and there's a moment when the mind is free from that sense desire or sense, or it becomes more and more equanimous rather than dullness. Just the neither pleasant nor painful feeling, if we're experiencing that more because we're observing how the feelings come and go, and how we perceive them changes the felt experience of them, and the mind is becoming, this is what I think you're talking about, but when we're working with Vedana, we start getting more equanimous around the sensual stimulation. So this is a high bar, the jhanas, but we're heading in that direction. The more we're having that experience that's neither, doesn't bring up grasping or aversion, and it's more but the knowing, the observing, the awareness is there too. It's not just blotting it out. So there's that on the way.
It's as the hindrances are reduced, even at they're not yet at the point of completely subdued. There is this sense of wellness that one can be aware of.
Yeah, so we're trying to say, because often with the Buddha puts it a very high bar, and it says, but there is a in the it's a gradual path. So we're working in that direction to experience. Somebody was saying that they had been on a certain kind of retreat, and they had worked for it was a 10-day retreat, and then they got to a point where the monkey was no longer on their back, is how they described it. And so that there was that peacefulness, that quietude, and they really, there was delighting in it. It was to just be free from that constant barrage of all this mental stuff that we deal with all the time. So maybe we're not at the point of rapture, but we're at a point where the mind is much more peaceful, and I would, at least it's certainly pleasant Vedana, but for some people it's just really a relief. And now we're getting to, and what is the rapture even more spiritual, of not of the flesh. This is the Nirāmisasutta. So what is that?
When a mendicant who has ended the defilements reviews their mind freed from greed, hate, and delusion, rapture arises. This is called rapture even more spiritual than that not of the flesh.
So this could be temporarily in abeyance, like with the hindrances in abeyance, but I think here, if this kind of beyond, the beyond is the when you actually have liberation from these. This would be arahantship if you're
This is
complete.
arahantship.
If you're completely
Kina asava is an arahant.
So if it's kina asava, is it?
I think that's in the
Yeah, kina asava.
That's an arahant.
Yeah, one who has destroyed the affluence, awakened epithet of an arahant. So yeah, so this is the bliss of arahantship. So temporarily in jhana, we have the greed, hate, and delusion is suppressed. Well, we've attained a state where we're free of it. at least temporarily. We've worked, it's not like we've just kind of smothered it, but we've freed ourselves temporarily because we've seen the disadvantage of them and abandoned them maybe repeatedly, and we've gotten to a point where we have a calm, peaceful mind it's just abiding in this stillness. But then we emerge from that stillness, and then gradually they start creeping back in.
We've got a cat helped us remove a blackberry vine.
Our friend Cat here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah. And who's on the Zoom, and it's back because it's temporarily there, but the roots not yet eradicated.
Yeah, so the roots are still there.
Blackberry vines are a very good simile.
And they bear this yummy fruit, and it's tempting just to let them grow, but then they'll take over your whole garden, and you can't even walk in your garden because it's all these stickers everywhere. It's like,
Yeah.
so this is the
It's got all the Vedanas in there.
So then, so what is the pleasure of this? So this is samisang sukam, the pleasure of the flesh. What is the pleasure of the flesh?
Well, it's mendicants. There are 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. What 5? Sights known by the eye, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Sounds, smells, tastes. Touches known by the body, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. These are the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. The pleasure and happiness that arise from these 5 kinds of sensual stimulation is called pleasure of the flesh. Not of the flesh. Again, it's the jhanas. Do you want me to summarize, or for time, or read it full out? I mean, it's always so beautiful, but
yeah, so not of the flesh again is the jhanas, particularly once we've gotten, this is the challenge too, is to let go of the experience.
and it's also getting us now into the 3rd jhana.
Even the we can get to a point where the tactile feeling and the sounds and everything become equanimous, but can we let go of even that and just experience mind? So
yeah, so this is I'll skip up to the 3rd jhana.
yeah, so as the mind,
Equanimous and mindful, one
yeah, so
meditates in bliss.
okay, we can go to there. Do you want to read the second? We already read the first and second, so do you
And
want
with the fading away of rapture, they enter and remain in the 3rd absorption, where they meditate with equanimity, mindful and aware, personally experiencing the bliss of which the noble ones declare equanimous and mindful one meditates in bliss. This is called pleasure, not of the flesh. This is the sukha. So piti, sukha, and now you can see the patterning happening here that aligns with the pleasures of the jhanas.
And then, and what is the pleasure, even more spiritual? This is beyond
beyond.
yes.
When a mendicant who has ended the defilements reviews their mind freed from hate, greed, and delusion, pleasure and happiness arises. This is called pleasure even more spiritual than that not of the flesh.
So this is kind of pointing us in a direction, like, because it's hard for us to imagine letting go of the sense pleasures, and that there is a happiness greater is the point of this, one of the points of the sutta.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone beyond abandoning the unwholesome and to a point where it's completely eradicated, or the Arahant has. I'm not saying we have you, but the Arahant has this pleasure even greater than our favorite ice cream or whatever we might think
Mhm.
is the best thing. Um,
Mhm.
and now we're getting to equanimity of the flesh.
Equanimity of the flesh. So it goes through again the five senses: sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, known by the body, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. These are the five kinds of sensual stimulation. The equanimity that arises from these five kinds of sensual stimulation is called equanimity of the flesh.
So that might sound a little confusing. If why is it equanimity if you're so agreeable, pleasant, etc., and arousing even? But it is that maybe we're content.
Yeah.
We're content now because we're sitting in our armchair and the cat's purring on our lap, and
Well,
we're just so we can just be at ease, content, and not be wanting anything for a while, a short while. Maybe even for like the evening or something like that. But then,
well, so you're talking about the pleasant Vedana side. But
yes,
there's also, like, for example, I was sitting out with a bunch of monastics at a retreat environment, and one of them one of them said, "It's so cold," and then another said, "Oh, it's so cold," and I hadn't said, "It's so cold," and one of them turned to me and said, "Aren't you cold?" And I said, "It is cold." And because I had the sense that yes, it was cold, but I was equanimous with the state of cold.
but see, here it's talking about
Uh,
equanimous of the kinds of sensual
that are pleasant
and pleasant and all that. So
Mhm.
I think there's the contentment, and you can be content enough with the cold. You can be experiencing the cold.
Well, at other times I
But
love the cold, but in that case it was just had a Vedana, but it wasn't
yeah, so
stimulating.
but um so there's ways of understanding what this sensual stimulation, equanimity that arises from that.
Mhm.
And I think that would be contentment.
Yeah.
That you would feel content. And you can feel content even when the Vedana is not pleasant, like you were feeling.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a good point. Either way,
Either way.
it's just like, so now we're going to look at equanimity not of the flesh.
When a mendicant who has ended, oh wait, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry about that. Just be great, but here we are. It's when the giving up of pleasure and pain and the disappearance of former happiness and sadness, a mendicant enters and remains in the fourth absorption, without pleasure or pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness. This is called equanimity, not of the flesh. So it's the fourth jhana.
And what is the equanimity even more spiritual than that?
When a mendicant who has ended the defilements reviews their mind freed from greed, hate, and delusion, equanimity arises. This is called equanimity, even more spiritual than that not of the flesh.
And here's the interesting one.
Yep.
And what is the liberation of the flesh?
Liberation connected with form is liberation of the flesh.
So this is a rupa. So the fine material realm. So having experienced the jhanas as the rupa jhanas, as they're often called, and so this is a type of liberation, it's a temporary freedom from the defilements.
Well, you're skipping ahead to the not of the flesh. I think of
So
remember
there's a liberation connected with form.
with form. Sure, I agree with that. And we could
Well, we'll
we could
keep-
be jumping to just
Well,
saying
because
the material and the immaterial jhanas. But I
Yeah.
think there's also, we had that question on retreat. There's several people here who were on that retreat where they said, oh, but sex is liberating. And I wish I'd had this sutta to point directly at. It's like, that is such a temporary kind of liberation. It's not that there isn't some
So-
freedom
but
possibly
here we have-
associated with it. The
Uh-huh.
next one is,
so we have freedom
yeah,
not of the flesh.
and so
And
not
this
of
is
the flesh
this is formless. So we have form
Mhm.
and formless. So that's why I said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
that's what's lovely about this sutta is there's multiple ways and levels of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Pali word that they're using for liberation?
It's we muti.
Vimoka, yeah,
We mocha.
which has got the mocha root.
So
Release.
yeah, we
deliverance.
mocha, we muti. It's a form of so see, they're just taking it to deeper and deeper levels of freedom. Yeah, so here it is. I also saw the discussion in the notes with
Mhm.
in the in Bhikkhu Bodhi's the wisdom hardbound, and he did say, well, what? How can we just talked about the formless attainments and the form attainments and
And now we're jumping to the immaterial attainments.
yeah, so we have the immaterial, this formless attainments.
And that makes sense in the progression because we've just gone through the 4 form jhanas.
Yeah.
And now at liberation, it's saying, well, when you're experiencing the formless jhanas, it's a different level. Now you're stepping out of.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so technically it's not connected with the 5 senses, the sense pleasures from the 5 physical senses, but it's still a form in the because it is this, we haven't completely transcended form, we haven't gotten to the formless liberation, and this is at this point it's getting more and more difficult to speak about in the rational mind, because it's like beyond kind of getting more away from intellect. So what is the liberation more spiritual than that of not of the flesh?
Whoop, gotta jump back. Not of the flesh, more spiritual. When a mendicant who has ended the defilements reviews their mind free from greed, hate, and delusion, liberation arises. This is called liberation, even more spiritual than that, not of the flesh. And I would take this as abiding in the Nibbana state. So you can take this last set as the Rupa jhanas, the Arupa jhanas, and then the Nibbana element. It's one way of looking at it. Can't speak from experience on that one.
So let's see, let's stop just a minute. Let's stop the
screen share.
Screen share, and then we could go to gallery so I can see who all is here. There we go. Yeah, thank you all for joining. And so, yeah, we're really close to the end, but we could stay a little bit longer on.
Questions on the sutta for the recording before afterwards? It's such a marvelous sutta.
Yeah, it's a very deep sutta. But I wanted to bring in also usually people are more familiar with the in Majjhima Nikaya the Satipaṭṭhāna and how the Vedana is talked about. So this gives us more background of what when knowing that experience. And so if for some people that would include the jhanas where they would be, or at least looking back and that experience of the freedom, the happiness that comes of freedom from a sensual stimulation. So you have a question?
Yeah, the question is about the reviewing of the mind aspect. So is the mind during the whole thing whilst in the meditation, or is it happening once the meditation has produced this kind of state?
That's it depends on a number of people's different interpretations of it. But some people think that in even the first jhana, you can, depending how deep the states are. And usually they talk about reviewing when you exit the jhana. And that's looking back at your experience. So it's not like you're just forgotten, you're not aware at all. But in order to do that kind of investigation, then it's looking back. And then there's really deep states of upachara before entering, which is very similar to the first jhana, has all the factors of the first jhana, but your mind. So this is maybe where some of the confusion is, because they may think that they've entered into the first jhana, but it's still an upachara, and they can do more cognitive investigation. And then afterwards is supposed to be the optimum time to do that, to look back. You were gonna say something.
Yeah, that answers the general question of when looking back occurs. In this sutta, they're always talking about the arahant looking back. So in this sutta, the arahant's always seeing this clear, bright, pure. The one who's emerging from the jhanas will see the purity of where they've been, but then they will also be able to observe the re-arising of conditioned reality. Well, I mean, it's all that's maybe not well put, but
Yeah, and it may be a period of time when it's still in abeyance. The mind is still clear, and but then it starts kind of creeping in, and this is where the observation is so important, is to see it and experience. Oh, that's really kind of icky, that that defilement. I used to relish this defilement, but actually it's it's not comfortable. It's so the more observant we are, the more we're able to abandon the unwholesome states.
And our reviewing time after the jhanas may need a while before we can tell whether it's clear or not. Ajahn Brahm talks about oh wow, I've really arrived, and then goes to the food line. You probably heard this story of, and then the head of him, the monastic, poured the icky fish curry together with the nummy curry that he liked, and then he watched his mind go. Pfft. He's like, oh, reviewing, it's not all gone.
Yeah, oops. I'm not awake yet. The greed is still there. The anger is still there. He felt first he felt greed, and then he felt angry at the abbot for
stirring up
mucking up things. So yeah. Of course he tells it very dramatically, and
mine was the brief review.
So does anyone in the Zoom audience have a question? You can, about the sutta, or any of the suttas that we covered today.
Do you have another question?
Well, we can close the live stream after we pay respects, and then we could open it up to other kinds of questions unrelated to the sutta, if people have them. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namassami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, thank you all in YouTube land for joining us, and we're gonna go